Hey everybody, welcome to a special Inside the Square Circle Pro Wrestling Talk. I'm here with the world's most dangerous man, PK Valor.
Yo, yo.
So I know that we heard the buzz. I talked about it on here. A lot of people have talked about it. I know that we've discussed CM Punk in the past with his actions in AEW, him being suspended, him being fired. So, what is your take on him actually joining back with WWE?
Uh, it actually it came truthfully as a shock to me, honestly. I did not see this shit happen in one iota. I figured he was gonna be completely done with the business. He was gonna go and do his own thing and just kind of veg out in Chicago and just not really fade into obscurity, but just kind of do his own gig. I mean, AJ's got her own thing going on, and hell, he name dropped her the other day.
Oh,
So who knows? Hell, we might get both of them back for all we know.
I tell you what, like I said, don't mind. I I mean, we heard the rumors, the dirt sheets, the Dave Meltzer and the Brian Alvarez and all of them were all talking about him possibly joining WWE. But a lot of
Yeah,
people don't know
but you
that
can
he
only trust Dave Meltzer as far as you can throw that dumb son of a bitch. Now, I mean, it's
yeah. I mean,
once upon a time, just like Cornette says, and there's times where I disagree with Jim Cornette. Dave Meltzer used to be the fucking guru, the guy to go to. But now that it's not even WWE, it's that wrestling, specifically the Indies and AEW, are starting to become a lot more the constant high spots. Once upon a time, a high spot was just a Macho Man elbow drop. Now a high spot is 3 Canadian destroyers when bullshit selling and ruining Petey Williams shit.
poor poor Petey Williams, man. He
Yeah,
created a beautiful move.
yeah. Hell, the Canadian destroyer used to be absolutely gorgeous. It was one of the few pile drivers that I would even debate about possibly taking as a wrestler. And I've only taken 2 in my entire career.
I'm taking the reverse. What's up, Daniel? Bar Sports Highlights. Yeah, I mean, I haven't taken the Tombstone. I've taken the one Jerry Lawler's done, but
Yeah,
they're not fun.
I got back for that one show that I used to work for. I got pile driven by superstar Xavier Michaels. So I mean, I still owe that son of a bitch for that, but he'll get his comeuppance. I'll come after him someday.
See, I was like you. I didn't put a lot of effort into the whole Punk thing. Like last Friday, I was at work. Some coworkers who were wrestling fans asked me, "Do you think Punk could be there?" And I said, honestly, I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, I really, I mean, all the stuff that happened and everything, I just did not. I mean, I know some people say never because Brett came back and the Warrior came back, but what Punk did was different.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah,
and, and the whole controversy with Punk to begin with was just it goes back to what Vince wanted people to do while they were hurt or while they had any kind of an injury or something that would have made it so they don't need to be in a ring, like a staph infection. Or even putting them with unsafe people like, oh, I hope this one doesn't get us in trouble, but Fat Ryback. By the way, if you decide to see this one, Ryback, I'll pin this shit to my Twitter. You can come at me, but goddamn, are you going to live up to your promise of retiring now, or are you going to backpedal on that one again?
he already backpedaled.
Shh. I already saw that one too, because
He
he
changed it.
hasn't blocked me on this Twitter account yet.
Well, he changed it around and said that he said that if Punk came back to AEW, that he was going to retire. So now he changed it. So, um, go figure, right back.
You know, poor man's Goldberg is what Ryback was. And once upon a time, I'll admit, I was a fan of the man. I liked the gimmick. I didn't care for the shell shock finisher. I thought that was kind of weak and lame. I think he would have been better off just literally using the meat hook clothesline because he had one of the better looking clotheslines that I had seen in a while, and he had a nice setup for it with the whole shoulder pumping. And then stomping around the ring, literally like a fucking gorilla.
He was fist pumping like a member of the Jersey.
Maybe his little fucking head thing yelling, "Hey, stupid," or whatever. And well, then maybe that's talking about himself for using that as a finishing move.
So yeah, like I said, I was like you when I got done doing some stuff, and I was looking at the highlights of Survivor Series. I wasn't going to watch it yet. Then I saw there was CM Punk on there, and I thought it was one of those fake videos you see that, like, you know,
yeah,
hey, Punk's here, no. And I was like, wait a second, that looks real.
It would have made sense too, like if they were, even if he wasn't going to be back, like in ring, even if he's not in ring, because who knows if that's even, he may be a backstage guy and that's it. It would make sense for him to come back out in Chicago, but I think they're going to work up to an angle with him and Seth. But the dirt sheet stories that they're hearing about Drew McIntyre right now throwing a fit and leaving out the back, I'm sorry, I like Drew McIntyre, but dude's nowhere near a draw like CM Punk ever was. Even if Punk never truly was the lone main event of a WrestleMania, he still has made more money for WWE, and he's put more asses in seats, and he's been more of a prominent figurehead, even with not being in the business. There was nobody ever chanting Claymore or Drew McIntyre, whatever. You'd hear people chanting for CM Punk, and it wasn't just in Chicago. It would be nationwide. So if Drew McIntyre wants to throw a fit about that, look, man, there's the door. When your contract is up, see if you'll probably get more money in AEW, but see if you get used better. I guarantee you're going to be looking at it a year from now going, why the fuck did I do this?
Well, if you look at it, AEW really don't use big guys very well. I mean, besides Warlord and Powerhouse Hobbs, maybe, but they don't really.
Did you say Warlord or Wardlow?
Warlord, sorry.
Okay, I'm like Warlord. Holy crap! There's a name from the '80s, early '90s I haven't heard.
Yeah, I was watching a clip earlier.
Realistically, they don't even use Wardlow that well anymore.
No, they don't. Yeah, they don't.
Wardlow's best run was the whole deal with him and MJF. After that, he floundered.
All those times, yeah, power bombed him. Yep.
And that's not even the fault of Wardlow of that man. That's because, again, it keeps coming back to TK does not know how to book a wrestling show. I think you said it best. He's a mark with action figures that he can move around, that move and do everything, and he can go, I can play with this one. Yeah.
Oh, look at this one. Now.
And then when somebody pisses in somebody else's Wheaties, he throws a fit and fires them. Well, okay, take it back. When somebody who can make more money than anybody else in his company put together does something and somebody throws a hissy fit that's his friend, he fires them. But the people that actually cause problems get to stay and keep a job.
So now, with that promo that Punk did on Raw, there was something at the end of the promo afterward. He looked at the camera and said, I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to make money.
That's the name of the game.
That comment was actually towards Bryan Danielson, a.k.a. Daniel Bryan, to you people who don't really watch AEW. Apparently, Bryan Danielson is a part of the committee that actually had CM Punk fired.
Yep. I think he was the head of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was the head of that committee. And if that's the case, I can get behind that but at the same time, I don't see where the hell Tony Khan can say or anybody can say, oh, Punk acted out of line. Well, if Punk acted so egregiously out of line, then why the fuck didn't they fire or opt to fire Jack Perry? Perry, because think about it. You're insubordinate at your job. I'm insubordinate at I'm not employed, unfortunately, at the moment. I got laid off because my company is full of ass clowns that don't know how to run a company anymore. But that's besides the point. That's neither here nor there. Hopefully one of them catches this show and they can hear that and here's my face and fuck you guys. So, yeah. Give 6 years. 6 years to a company trying to bust your ass, do everything that you can, bend over backwards and kiss your own ass for them, and you get laid off while people that have been there for 6 months, a year, 2 years, whatever, don't even have the same kind of seniority or anything or job knowledge that I did, get to stay. Whatever. Oh, well. Force another guy who was my friend, lay him off. Not even 2 weeks after his daughter passes away. He's not even back to work yet. Fuck those guys. But anyhow, we're not even going to go into that bullshit. We're going to get back to the point here. If any of us are insubordinate at our jobs, what's the first thing that happens? We're suspended, or since insubordination is usually a one and done thing, you get let out the fucking door. Jack Perry was insubordinate, and he was fucking arguing with his bosses. And instead of firing him, they suspended him, and then he had the audacity to go at Punk. And Punk went back at him. But, again, that's neither here nor there. Both men should have been punished the same way. Brian Danielson, whatever you want to call him, at this point, we all know who it is. We all know the same thing. I can sympathize. He's put into a position between a rock and a hard place still. Where is here, prodigal? Where is here? Depending on where is here, I may relocate.
It's in Texas.
Fuck. Never mind. I'm not relocating that far. Sure, it's warmer, but y'all got a bunch of fucking. You guys are like the secondary cousin of crazy Florida man. The only thing that I'll fit in with is that I own guns.
When I saw the Punk's promo, a lot of people were talking how it wasn't really that good. But I think what Punk's promo is, Punk was kind of, I think they gave him the list of, hey, this is what you're going to say.
Yeah, they'll give him kind of like The Rock. They'll give him some key points to hit, but they'll give him a little bit more freedom than they would probably give the mid-card guys or even some of the upper guys. I think.
Apparently he can't. Everybody's wondering why he didn't say anything about AEW, but apparently there is a lawsuit that he's got right now with Nick Khan. Well, not Nick Khan, but Tony Khan. There's too many Khans.
There's too many damn Khans in the business.
Right. So I think there's like a lawsuit going around where he can't discuss it and Tony Khan can't discuss his. Someone said, Black Rosa said, maybe Punk should stop rambling so much.
Hey. He does talk. He does like to talk. I mean, I can't. I know who that is. She has a point.
Here's my problem with Punk. Punk lives in his own imagination land. People talk about what Triple H said at Survivor Series. Whether it's positive, negative, like or dislike, people are always talking about Punk.
Yeah.
And Triple H is right about that. However, I do agree they need to staple Punk's mouth shut.
Sometimes. Because, if that's the case, then holy shit, we should have done that one. We should have done that one to Ric Flair. We should have done that one to Hulk Hogan.
Brother.
We should have never given Ryback or Bill Goldberg a microphone, for fuck's sake.
My problem with Punk is when he left in 2014, he was pissed about not main eventing WrestleMania 29 in 2013. But technically, if you look at it from a competitor standpoint, which you've wrestled and I wrestled, so we understand this part. He got to wrestle The Rock twice, The Undertaker for the WrestleMania streak, and Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam. So he had 3 legendary guys that he got to face that year.
Yeah. And that is one point where I will definitely agree that Punk complained way too much for that. Just because you're not the title match on on WrestleMania. Fuck, anytime The Undertaker was on WrestleMania, as his streak grew and grew, it was a main event. Pretty much after he came back as the Dead Man after WrestleMania 20.
Yep.
And they really started pushing on the streak. It would have been that's where it would have been, I think.
I look at it too, like, you know, but now we're at a point where WrestleMania is 2 nights now. You know, here's where I could see happening. I'm thinking, and no, Prodigal was saying, I wonder what they're going to do with Punk here.
I'm honestly, I'm still salty that they didn't give Bray the fucking W over the Undertaker, and that should have been who got the end of the streak.
Yep.
Let him do it and build his character as that. And this was even before he was the Fiend. Let him be that creepy new heel that has that supernatural kind of presence to him. I think that would have been perfect to pass the torch then. And then even when he did the Fiend and he came back, I think it would have been perfect then. Rest in peace, Wyndham. Because Jesus Christ, you were gone. You and oh Christ, John Huber.
Yep. Brody Lee, yep.
Yeah, did both of you guys gone way too fucking early, and both of them were outstanding talents. They didn't have the greatest look. They didn't have that Vince McMahon look, but Jesus Christ, one could talk, and both could wrestle. Both could work, I think, really fucking well. But
you know, not to change the subject about Punk, but isn't it kind of funny that this is all backfired on Vince McMahon? He used his little leverage to get back into the company. Now they sold it to TK Holdings and, you know, having an Endeavor, and now they're finding ways to get rid of him now.
See, and I'm happy with that. At the same time, that kind of worries me on what they're going to do with Dana White. But Dana White doesn't run the UFC the same way Vince McMahon ran WWE. No. There's not really any controversies. You know, it would have been actually really good. I see in the comments here, I see Prodigal Heel. I think what would have been great is because they've had this ongoing little like work shoot thing with Seth Rollins. It would have been great to have him come in and just. You could have had Punk come in as a heel and have his music hit. Have Rollins be the one who just he's walking off after everything, like he's the first one out because he's got the title, so he's doing his little diva bullshit strut that he does, getting his robe and his glasses, and then have Punk just clock him from just the music hit. Punk clocks him. That would have still gotten a hell of a pop, and then it wouldn't have looked as horrible as it did as it on camera at the end of the pay-per-view.
If you want something exciting, next week on Raw, Seth Rollins is defending the World Heavyweight title against Jey Uso. If you would have put,
I hope main event. I hope Jey gets the belt. I'd love, even if it's a transitional thing, because
right,
Jimmy and Jay, they were due.
Hey, Leon.
They needed to have. Oh, apparently they didn't know what to do with Punk. Well, I know Punk had been backstage. They were reporting Punk had been backstage all day. So that's why I'm not convinced that the whole shit with Seth Rollins at the end wasn't just a work. Because if he was backstage all day and everybody was saying that he was in good spirits, everybody was in good spirits, he was humble. He wasn't CM Punk from 2011 or 2012 or 2013 walking around with the big chip on his shoulder. He was walking around as the, hey man, it's nice to see you. I missed you guys. It was a changed man. It was a grown man. I'm not saying that CM Punk was a little boy when he was in there, but it was some.
You know, honestly, let me ask you this: would you think Punk would have gotten that reaction if he would have went to the new TNA that's being?
I don't think so, because even TNA right now doesn't have the viewership. Like, the closest WWE has to competition was AEW. As horrible and as sad as that is to say. Impact, TNA, whatever, NWA, none of that. They don't. Are they even on TV right now?
They're on some kind of channel. I forgot what channel.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's one that is in some obscurity. WWE is on your primetime channels, USA, Fox, shit like that. ESPN. They used to do specials on ESPN way back in the day, 80s, I think. But AEW is TBS and TNT. So I mean those are prime channels that every cable or satellite provider has.
I was going to say if we were writing, I would put Punk as a heel too. This is what I would do. Next Monday night, I would have Punk screw Seth Rollins out of that world title against Jey Uso.
Yes.
And I would have Damian Priest come out and cash it.
No, I don't get me wrong. I like Damian Priest with the belt, but I'd at least give Jey. Like I'd let Jey win it on a Monday night, and I'd let him ride it until Royal Rumble, and then I'd have Seth and him fight again. Punk comes out, screws Seth out of that, but then have Rollins literally whip the hell out of Jey Uso. So it's one of those, he's got to crawl and get the hand over, the arm over to get the 1, 2, 3 because they're both out cold. Then have Damian Priest come out and cash in. And then whoever goes on to win the Royal Rumble, have them see where that's going to go. And then you start leading into CM Punk versus Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. And you slow burn that. So you have maybe the night after Royal Rumble, you have Punk in the main event, and you have Rollins come out and you have him stomp Punk and cost Punk the match.
Hey, you want to know who had a really good promo and a really good reaction? Randy Orton, as he told.
Oh my God, Daddy's back.
Daddy's back.
Mommy this, mommy that. Well, in my case, it's Orchid this, Orchid that, but that's besides the point. Well, then guess what? Daddy's home. Daddy's back.
And what's interesting too is I'm actually looking forward to see what Randy Orton's going to do, because if it is Cody and Seth, I mean, if it is Cody and Roman 2 at WrestleMania 40, which I'm thinking that's what it's going to be, wouldn't it be cool if Randy Orton was to give a little screw to Roman Reigns and hit him with the RKO, and having Cody beat Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship?
I don't know. I don't know if I want to see Cody and Roman too.
There's been talks about them wanting to put CM Punk with Roman Reigns, because CM Punk did mention the wise man.
See, but the $1 million question is, and after that, do you have Heyman turn on him, or do you have and go to Punk again, or do you have Punk get screwed by Paul Heyman because he was the wise man? I mean, they did this. You can't repeat the same shit that you did with Brock Lesnar with CM Punk.
No, can't. No.
And at the same time, Punk doesn't need Paul Heyman because Punk's not bad on a microphone. Roman's gotten better, but he's still kind of on his promos. He's not the greatest at it still. And that's where Paul Heyman comes in, because Paul Heyman is a fucking savant. He's the only good one left in the game for that. Because let's face it, Bobby the Brain Heenan's passed, rest in peace for that one, and Jim Cornette's retired. Those are the only other two that were as good on a microphone compared to Paul. Even Jim Cornette praises Paul Heyman. And that guy, they can't stand each other, really. So, I mean, what's that tell you?
I'm telling you this, I would love to see a CM Punk LA Knight Mike
I think
Short.
that would be a good one because it's with Punk coming back too. It's looking slowly like LA Knight's going to be pushed back out of the main event picture. Because there was talks about that being Royal Rumble, is Roman Reigns versus LA Knight. Now they don't know. And yeah, LA Knight and Reigns, from what I understand, I didn't watch that one. It was back and forth.
Yeah, it was. It was actually pretty good. I mean, now it was the same setup at the end. They helped Roman Reigns get the victory, which they need to kind of. I mean, I get it from a heel standpoint as a stable standpoint, but at the same time, if you do the same endings where you're screwing all the faces to beat him,
Yeah,
eventually it gets old.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind eventually seeing the bloodline start to fully just disband. And I'd like to see, I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. Maybe you have Braun, have Breaker, not Braun Strowman, Braun Breaker. Have him be a surprise entrant to the Rumble.
The
Have
one
him
that
win
looks
it.
like Rick Steiner but sounds like Scott.
And I think honestly can probably out wrestle both of them at this point in time. But yeah,
I actually.
You know what? I got to. Sorry, I'm sorry for cutting you off, but I got to agree with Prodigal. He said Knight may need to turn anti-hero. Yeah, Stone like with the Brett have it. Oh, I don't know how the hell would you do that though, because he's already so over as a face. If he was still a heel and he was going against a baby face, and you were trying to pull off that double turn. But with him already being over in the crowd and then the audiences with his and all that, you can't really.
Well, he did do a promo recently when they were overseas, and they were asking him about the Royal Rumble, and LA Knight said, it doesn't matter if it's Jey Uso, Yeet. It doesn't matter if it's Cody Rhodes, the American Nightmare. He's like, I'm going to throw them all out of the ring because no one's better than LA Knight. Yeah.
I want him to bring that fucking from Eli Drake, that fucking dummy button. I want him to bring that so he can
the dummy,
dummy, yeah,
dummy, yeah.
You know what? That actually might work. Like, are you talking like WrestleMania, around WrestleMania 13?
Yes.
Bret Hart heel Prodigal. Like when I love the dummy bud. That is one of my favorite fucking things about Eli Drake, aka LA Knight now.
I remember his little skit with Matt Hardy when Matt Hardy was doing a delete, and he kept saying, nope. He's like, dummy, delete, dummy, delete.
But
yeah, I mean, honestly, yeah.
I could see that one kind of working out. I could see. The problem is though, is where how would WWE kickstart that now that CM Punk is back and being still over with the crowd? How would you get it to where people would want to boo him? It's almost impossible right now.
What you do? You get to the Royal Rumble, and you get three guys in the ring: Cody, CM Punk, LA Knight. LA Knight is about to eliminate Cody, and then CM Punk comes over and eliminates him and gets that heat. Or Punk gets eliminated and then grabs LA Knight, kind of like Hogan did with Flair.
You mean Sid?
Yeah, Sid. Yeah, kind of.
I think it was. I think that was Royal Rumble 3, where he was supposed to be holding on to Sid so that Flair.
92. Yep, the Royal Rumble 92. Yep. Holding on to Sid. Flair won the World WWE Championship, and I think you could do something like that because that would actually kind of create some heel heat for Punk.
Yeah, because I get what you're talking about now, Prodigal. Also, you're literally talking about the WrestleMania 13, because that's when Stone Cold walked out after he didn't give up. He passed out from the blood loss, and Shamrock rang the fucking bell because. How the hell can you give up or say I quit or whatever for a submission match if you're out cold? But no, And he's right. If anybody can get heat, it would be CM Punk. The only place that CM Punk will never have negative heat, the only place that CM Punk will ever get strictly positive attention is Chicago. Chicago will never boo CM Punk. Period.
Well, he was in my hometown for Raw, and he didn't really get that big a reaction in Nashville like he would normally get. And
again, that might be why they decided to have him come out at Survivor Series that was in Chicago, because they knew that was where it was going to pop. Because you could have had him debut in Nashville or on Monday Night Raw the following night, because I don't think that was in Chicago, and it wouldn't have garnered the same reaction because it's not Chicago.
Kudos to Triple H though for keeping this a secret. That is very hard to do.
It was one of those that was it was almost a speculation. Like, we kind of figured it was happening, but nobody was 100% sure. And Punk can be a prick.
What I actually liked at that press conference that Triple H was talking about the returns, and he's like, "Hey," he got so excited, he's like, "Hey, did everyone see R-Truth's return? Eating those ruffles?"
Yeah, and see, like in your show the other night, the only thing that really did bug me about Punk's return is that it overshadows R-Truth, which R-Truth, as much as I like R-Truth, the man's also a wonderful person. I've met him a couple times. He's a really sweet guy. He's really fucking chill and down to earth. But it overshadows that, and it really overshadows the return of Randy. Sure, Randy had that decent promo with the one back and forth for Rhea, but if you were if you wanted to make it so that was the case, if you didn't want to try to overshadow anything, instead of having Orton be the guy who was the fifth man, have him come back. Have him come back on Monday Night Raw. Or have it where he is backstage, but Judgment Day knew about it, so they jumped him. So now we have to have somebody, oh my God, Orton's unconscious. So now we got to have somebody fill in. Okay, now Cult of Personality hits.
Or if you want to get a heel.
Because now you've already fucked up the return for somebody. But if you're going to try to make it to where somebody gets a bigger pop, and you're going to do that in the first place, well, we already all knew Randy was coming back. So what that does is that doesn't really ruin the return for Orton, because Cody was teasing it like, oh, we have a Predator, all that shit right before fucking Survivor Series.
Right.
But then that's what, okay, now we gotta call a fucking audible at the fucking line of scrimmage on 4th down.
Now, if you were to CM Punk was coming back as a heel, the best thing to do would be he'd be the one, like him, attacking Randy Orton. No one knows who did it, and then he takes Randy Orton's spot, and then he causes that team to win against the Judgment Day. Now that could have created some heat, but to me though, Punk's better as a heel. I actually think Punk's better as a heel. A lot of people think he's better as a face. I prefer him as a heel because
Punk is better as a heel.
Mm-hmm. He comes off like a prick. He comes off as that asshole. He comes off as the one guy you would just love to punch in the face if you saw him in person. And
yeah,
it works. I mean, LA Knight is the guy. He is pretty much that guy who doesn't give a damn if you're cheering for him or you don't like him or not. He's still doing him.
And that's one of the reasons why a lot of people compare him to like a combination between The Rock and Stone Cold, is because he tries to cut promos like that. Hell, I think it's probably a hell of a lot more popular than what used to be. I'd rather hear people going, yeah, after somebody says something than what. And I like Austin.
What?
But there's only so long for hearing what that before it just gets annoying as shit. We've been hearing it for 20 years?
Here's the deal, though. A lot of people think that I talk shit about AEW, but honestly, there are some things about AEW I do like. But I will say the problem with AEW, and Jim Cornette has said this, Eric Bischoff has said this, a lot of us have said this. Tony Khan might be the guy who's pulling the strings, and he might be signing the paychecks.
That's all he's doing.
That's all he's doing.
Tony Khan signs the paychecks. He can bring the guys in, but as it goes for actually getting anything, trying to get anything done, Tony Khan doesn't know his ass from a hole in the ground.
From what I hear, and this is what I've been told, that Punk's contract may only be part-time.
And I'd be okay with that.
Because you don't really want him in that locker room, because that locker room's gelling very well. You don't want him in there for too long, and I feel like
I'd have Punk be like Brock and Roman, because WWE has a nice roster overall of full-time guys.
I think we're at the point where,
that'd be nice to see Triple H try to do that, but I don't think he'd be able to actually pull that off, Prodigal, because he doesn't have access to that. He might have access to his own money, but I don't know what his net worth is, but he doesn't have the millions or billions of dollars that WWE has, or Endeavor has even, to invest money into the NWA and try to restart the territory game.
Nick Khan probably can.
It'd be great to see that happen again. It'd be great to see guys get loaned out from territory to territory, because then it makes wrestling great again, and it makes it makes everything where you don't see it. It's publicly traded, yes, but you have to convince a board of people that don't want to give up money. And that's the biggest problem, is you're trying to make people you're trying to convince people to give up the money that they have guaranteed by making by making territories again. Because if WWE goes into just the Northeast as a territory and they don't go to places like Chicago or Hollywood, they're going to lose out on a shitload of money as a promotion or a company. They'll lose out on millions of dollars a year.
Yeah, that's actually true. He actually has WWE stock, which is interesting, because I thought if I ever played the stock market, that would probably be a company I would want to put a stock into. But then again, the way they're dropping down with that whole Vince McMahon stuff.
I thought about getting stock in WWE once upon a time, but I didn't. Instead, I took that money and I bought some shares into the Green Bay Packers.
So you're a shareholder of the Green Bay Packers?
I am.
All right, yeah.
And the gal that I'm dating has a dad that I believe is a diehard Bears fan.
Oh, that's going to be a good, nice little Sunday dinner.
Just wear my tie-dye Green Bay Packers shirt, my old Brett Favre jerseys.
No. No, actually, honestly,
take a wild guess who that person might just be.
Oh, I've already kind of got it right. No, but see, I actually
here. This is my boy Big Kev. This is Hollywood KD.
Yes.
His other half is somewhere around there. I think she's sitting next to him.
Yeah, she is.
Mel, pop your head in here. Quit being a bitch.
Hello.
Thank you.
Fuck you.
She does the.
I love you too.
Yep, exactly.
And she does whenever she's playing GTA. She's like in this focus mode. She's like, "Get out of here, everybody!"
Yeah, I'm
I've been
gaming.
playing GTA Online lately a lot.
That's what we've been doing. But here's something here, and this is good because we got Proco in here, and we got your girl in here. So I'm gonna throw this out here. We both, me and you both have a TikTok, and we see some wrestling creators on there, and and some of the girls on there. There's one girl on there named Renee, who.
By the way, my girl is a real big AJ fan.
AJ fan? Okay.
Yeah.
Hence
the reason she said earlier, I'm sorry for cutting you off again. Hence the reason she said we may get AJ back. Hell, we just might, since Punk had name dropped AJ the other day in his promo on Monday Night Raw. I could see them bringing her back as a part-time, like just to kind of boost up some of these other ones, like Zoe Stark. Even though Zoe Stark's not doing horrible, but even though she just had a deal with Trish, I believe it was. But then you got others. You could even have AJ go in and help kind of boost some shit up with NXT and have her work with Shawn. Even though Shawn doesn't really need help down in NXT. He's probably one of the better bookers right now in the business.
I actually think I don't be surprised if we don't see AJ Lee as a surprise entrant in the Rumble.
For the Women's Rumble, I could see that one happening. Even if it is just a one-off. I mean, hell, they did that with Michelle McCool. They did it with Kelly Kelly.
Tori Wilson.
Yeah, Tori Wilson.
Victoria.
The only other one that we haven't seen that potentially could come back as a one-off is Stacy.
Yeah. Well, I've seen her inducted into the Hall of Fame, but we have not seen her inside one of the things. But the reason why I brought that up is because there is some. Now, we know how toxic wrestling fans can be. You've seen it. I've seen it. We've come across people that have.
Hell, I'm guilty of being one at times. I have been. I'm not. We all have been.
I have this issue. I have this issue where, yes, when we see a woman liking professional wrestling and they talk about like Dolph Ziggler or Cody Rhodes, and they're like, "Oh my god," they do like this, that. It makes us feel like, well, okay, so you only like the guy because he's hot. You only like him. Do you like him for his ability, or do you? I can see why some wrestling fans make the comment, but I also look at it like.
I mean, if you think about it, though, for the ladies, the guys are a lot more eye candy than what the guys get to see. Like back in the day, women's wrestling now is a whole different monster. In the early 2000s, in the Attitude Era, early 2000s, even in the Ruthless Aggression era, you had Trish that slowly started to get better, who ended up being a decent one. You had Lita that was a decent one. Tori and Stacy never really Jackie, Miss Jackie, Gaida or whatever, Gaida. Yeah, she was never really the greatest in ring. She was a lot of the divas, a lot of the women in that point in time were just eye candy. I mean, we all did the same thing, whether it was in our teenage years, early 20s, even some of us into our late 20s to our 30s. We'd look at the women and be like, "Oh my God, she's hot. I'd take her home to my parents or something like that, or I'd bend her over the back of a couch." Every guy's fucking said it. Guilty as charged here too. But at the same time, go to a live show. What match do the guys get up and go use the bathroom, or when do we go to a merchandise stand? We don't go during even the low card for the guys. You can have the secondary main event be the women. That's when we all got up and go to the fucking merch stands. So now you've had women that have main event. We've had women that main evented WrestleMania, for fuck's sake.
They've main evented
WrestleMania. Becky Ronda Charlotte main evented WrestleMania.
They've also had
that's I do not bring the dumpster fire back.
How about we make her in a tag team with Nails? No, that's fine. I'm just playing.
See, but the difference is that one was a gimmick. Hers is a legit
Yeah.
thing.
I heard straight up pussy on that.
Now, let me ask you this though. Now, me and Mel were having this conversation. She thinks that Bailey is using butt pads. So we have to.
What?
She thinks that Bailey is using butt pads in her tights. She doesn't think Bailey's butt is really that big. I'm under the impression I think it's that big, but that's just me.
Truthfully, I don't know. And I'm not saying that to try to get myself, because I know that my girl's in the comments. I have genuinely not really taken the time to focus and be like, damn, Bailey got cake. I've never taken the time to sit there and focus on that.
If we're going to talk about eye candy in professional wrestling, I think you would have to go back in the day in the old TNA days when they had the knockouts and they had like the beautiful people and
yeah.
They were kind of ugly in my opinion. Too much fucking makeup on.
No, they didn't like the fact they wore so much makeup, but I think the women's wrestling's a lot better now than it was. Kind of. Kind of.
I like what Prodigal had to say.
She has a butt double like Brie Larson.
All the hate on Brie Larson. Still,
oh my gosh!
Still. And yes, myth. Now I'm talking like Mike Tyson. Myth.
Mike Tyson. Yeah.
Miss Elizabeth was perfect.
Yes.
Hell, even Sherry, sensational Sherry, she was even. I'd have her as a valet.
Diamond Dallas Page's wife, Kimberly, at the time was.
Kimberly was good. I think, aren't they still married?
No, but they're friends.
Oh, they're just friends. Okay.
Yeah, they're friends. I think he's.
I honestly can never keep track of who's married and who's not anymore in the fucking business. It seems like everybody's. It seems like it's a revolving door of marriages for a lot of people. The last one that I knew about and remotely gave a shit about was Jeff, Kurt, and Karen.
Karen Angle.
No, now it's Karen Jarrett.
Karen Jarrett, yeah. I always had a thing for Mickey James and Victoria. Victoria was actually pretty good too.
You had a thing for Mickey James?
No, Crocodile Hill did. No. Sometimes
she used to sell feet pictures.
So
a lot of people don't fucking know that one about Mickey. That was how she paid for fucking wrestling school.
Mickey James is one of those. Victoria is definitely one of those women who has not been in the WWE Hall of Fame, and I'm looking at it like.
She's one that I wouldn't fuck with either. Like a legitimate, I wouldn't want to fuck with her.
No. But the reason why I brought up the whole women and women and making a comment and men making comments back is, have we lost in the world now where we can't have an opinion without somebody getting pissed off and they think that their opinion's better than your opinion? And that's just how the world is now, or that's what we have to do?
I think that is just how the world is God's forbid you have an opinion that's different than me. I can think that Seth Rollins is great and you can think he sucks, but that's the way it should be, is instead of, oh, you think he sucks, well, fuck you, I'm going to get you canceled. No, I don't like Brock Lesnar. There's a lot of people that love Brock Lesnar. I'm met on Cody Rhodes. Unfortunately, it's because of the goddamn speech impediment.
Oh, Cody.
But then you got people that are fucking idiots like me that sit there and go, hi, how you doing? Rocking back and forth in a fucking shopping mall.
We've all done that. I've done that. I'm guilty of rocking back and forth. I do it all the time.
Oh yeah,
I do like the whole Mankind Mick Foley just kind of.
yeah. I've done that before. I wear my hat. I had that thing sideways. Yeah, I like how the windows taste. Yay.
You have some taters.
just to see all the uneasy looks going on around me. It's fucking great. I love it. And I did that in a crowded mall in Janesville, Wisconsin. Cheap pop.
Maybe you might be able to get free. Maybe you might be able to get free.
I'm not getting anything free out of that shithole. That mall is like it's the ghost of Christmas past kind of thing. That mall is like nothing anymore.
We have a mall. We have a mall here that's like that, and it's almost like it's so like ghetto-fied that it's almost like the if you ever seen the movies the Friday movies, it reminds you of like you'll probably see like a crackhead at Santa, probably rolling around and taking over the building.
Yep, I know what you're talking about.
I mean, honestly, I look at it like people have these opinions and stuff like that. I mean, like I know some people don't particularly care for the Undertaker. I'm an Undertaker guy, but that doesn't make I'm gonna be like, oh my god, why would you say that bad about the Undertaker? I'm like, that's your opinion, moron. I mean, fuck you. I don't care. I mean, I know a lot of people hate Hogan, and I see, and I understand the reason why.
It's a lot of people hate Hogan now.
Right.
A lot of us that hate Hogan now used to really be used to admire him growing up. He was one of those heroes that we had growing up. But then we find out just some of the stances, some of the things he said. It's
the famous quote that doesn't work for me, brother.
Yeah. It's the same goes with guys even like Triple H. There's a lot of people now that used to hate him that absolutely think he's one of the best because of what he's done in the business.
I used to be one of the people that hated him. So, you know. I was never the biggest Triple H fan. I used to get pissed off about the fact that he would never like put guys over like Booker, and he wouldn't put guys over like RVD. He would just be like
the only one that really ever anybody comes back to is Booker.
Yep.
And that's because I think didn't Booker win the Royal Rumble that year, and that's what it was, and then he
won. They had a battle royal on Raw between him and it was last two people were between him and The Rock, and the Rock actually got eliminated by Booker.
Yeah.
So they went to. So that kind of went.
What was that? Was that WrestleMania 19?
Yeah, Booker and Triple H.
Okay. Yeah, because then is that when? That's not when Cena won his first title, was it? Or was that
no? Cena won his first WWE title in 21.
21.
Yeah, that's when he beat JBL for the.
Okay, I knew he beat JBL, but I couldn't remember when it was.
But that was also a good WrestleMania. Well, I mean, the WrestleMania after that, you had Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit as both champions, so that kind of
the man we no longer speak of. That we're no longer allowed to speak of.
I feel bad for his son. You know, his son's trying to get into the business.
You know, my girl and I were talking about that the other day, actually, too, Kev. And I think part of the problem going with David Benoit is he wants, from what I was hearing and being told, he doesn't want to go by David Benoit or go by a different name. The name that he is dead set on going, like being introduced as, is Chris Benoit Jr. Like, if that's what you want, like, if you can get somebody to book you, by all means. But just don't be surprised when somebody says no. Pump the brakes.
Well, I know that Scott Hall's son was wrestling in New Japan for a little bit, Cody.
See, but Scott Hall doesn't have the same kind of stigma that that Chris does. So, and And at the same time, it is really shitty of the wrestling because it's not just promoters; it's the wrestling community as a whole that treats David Benoit like shit because of his father.
Honestly, I actually think that
one of these days, I want to hear this theory, Prodigal, because I used to be fully cemented on like fuck you guys, Jesus Christ, fucking people outside the house, Jesus Christ. Sorry about that. They're people,
well,
redneck, little dick rednecks outside want to drive past my fucking apartment and
I'll tell
wreck
you this:
goddamn trucks.
Prodigal Hill and a buddy of his named Dark Horse Josh, they did a lot of research about the whole Benoit murder suicide, and they came up with some really cool things that would actually possibly make Benoit innocent in this equation.
I know there's a lot of people that think still to this day he is, because there's a lot of people that still think that Sullivan had something to do with it.
Well, the problem is that Chavo has changed his story so many times since it's happened. Like, he said that, Chris had to go answer the door, and then he heard something, and then Chris called back drugged, and then he'll go on another show and talk completely different about the situation. It's like you don't know. I mean,
yeah, and it is kind of a regardless. Three people died. I have to agree with Paul. 3 people died that day. And whether or not one of them had the choice or not, none of them should be dead.
No. Definitely not. I don't believe that his brain was his brain of a 70-something-year-old man. The only reason why I don't believe that is because if he had that brain capability, he wouldn't be able to do what he did in the ring.
I mean, but if you think about it, look at some of the stuff that Bubba Dudley did when he was concussed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, him and Chris Jericho both talk about one of the TLC or ladder matches. Bubba gets concussed like 5 minutes into a 25, 30-minute match.
And he looked like he was spaced out. Like,
and you can see it in his face that he is not fully there. He had not, like, Chris was telling him what to do, where to go. Chris Jericho, not Chris Benoit, that is, by the way, for anybody that watches this or is watching. And from there, Bubba kind of goes on autopilot. It becomes like a muscle memory thing. And at the same time, Benoit is not the first person that this has happened to. He's the first person that may have allegedly taken out 2 other people, but he's not the first person to have this issue with CTE. Junior Seau used to be a Los Angeles Chargers player. Blew the side of his fucking head off, or blew his head off. Killed himself. When they did the autopsy for that, they looked at his brain. It was 25, 30 years older than what he should have been for the brain because of all the head injuries from football. And he had a helmet. Sure, it was all more bang bang, but even the little plays in football can give you a concussion. Do it. Chris was taking chair shots, unprotected chair shots, because nobody for the longest time took a protected chair shot properly. Think of back in the 90s and the early 2000s, how many chair shots had the chairs literally folding around heads. It happened to Taker, happened to Shawn, Chris Benoit, Triple H, Mick Foley, Stone Cold.
I think the only two that I saw that actually really were
Ken Shamrock took the one straight to his face by The Rock and literally knocked him out. Because he told The Rock, don't you be afraid to swing it or we're going to fight backstage. So Rock swung the fucking chair. Hit him right in the fucking nose.
The Rock and Triple H, when they took chair shots, at least they did the whole hand over the face, which still hurts, by the way.
Sometimes they did. But I mean, and even with some of the stuff, like they've done like the barbed wire wrap stuff with Mick Foley, it's gimmick. It's gimmick barbed wire. It's just Mick's the only one who's going to be crazy enough to actually get hit with something wrapped in legitimate barbed wire because he's done it in Japan.
Yep.
The only thing that you can't fake for that is the thumbtacks. Which, you know what? I'm going to actually ask you really quick, Big Kev, and I want to hear Prodigal Heel's choice on this one too.
Okay.
Because I got asked this one over just the other day, and I got asked this by my girlfriend's little brother. Would you rather take a tombstone on the top of the cell with the cell giving way so you land in the ring, or would you rather be thrown off the Hell in a Cell through the announce table and landing on thumbtacks?
Ooh.
I chose option 2. I'd rather go off the cage, through the table, onto the thumbtacks, because at least then I know I'm landing on my back or my side or my stomach. I'm not landing potentially on my fucking head.
Even if it was Taker, I still wouldn't do the first one. You know, that's just nah. I actually think that I would actually pick the second one. I would fall off the top, land on the table, and hit the thumbtacks.
See, but at the same time, though, Prodigal, the only reason I presented it that way is because when you are getting tombstoned, this cell is breaking way still. I trust Taker, too. But what happens if his knees go out, like as he's coming down, or he shifts? Now you're shifting, and you're going to be landing on the top of your melon from 15 feet up.
Speaking of which, Taker has got his own podcast now, 6 Feet Under. That's on.
No shit. Well, there's another one. There's another one to add to my list on Spotify.
There's on YouTube, and he talked about how the Iron Sheik was his roommate at one point, and the Iron Sheik was up at 3 or 4 in the morning doing these little workout things. He goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, baby. I'm sorry, baby. I had to do my little." And he said,
"In the fucking whatever those fucking
yes." Yeah.
Those bats or whatever. The only person who could even remotely do anything with them was, I think, Bob Backlund.
Yep.
Jesus.
I mean, Taker also was talking about how what would have happened if him and Sting. He did say if him and Sting got together.
Prodigal, you are correct though. Both have potential of screwing you up big time.
It's okay. It's okay. The dog wants to come over. Oh, how you doing? You want to come inside the? Come on. My dog decided to take a little photo bomb.
Nice. That's okay. You saw me put the cat on the back of the couch.
Well, here's something too. Someone told me that this is a question for everybody on here. A guy asked me at work today, would I rather take 15 German suplex from Brock Lesnar or take 15 chops from Gunther?
15 suplexes from Brock. Because of how he does it, you're going to land on your shoulders and not your neck.
Gunther's...
And Gunther's chops, holy shit.
Gunther's chops...
He punches everything into those fucking chops. You can see it when Gunther does a chop.
I've seen some of his indies. They had some of this thing on YouTube, like indies of him like chopping people. And I heard this one he did that was just...
He hits the guy and it sounds like a fucking gunshot. It's just...
I'd rather take the...
And the camera's up on like the second level and it picks that up like it was a gunshot. So just imagine how loud that sounds up close at ringside. Or just being Gunther and well, obviously at that point in time he was Walter, which he should have stayed as Walter, not Gunther. But that's besides the point.
See, my coworker really doesn't know much about wrestling. He's always like he told me he was like, "Hey, I would like to see how chops feel." I was like, "Hey, pull your shirt up. I'll show you how it feels."
Pull your shirt up and just cover your eyes and just wait.
Wait, I'll make sure it's mean and nasty for you before I do it.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
You gotta look at everybody, and you can't do it. You can't do the knife edge Ric Flair style. You got to do the fucking Big Show style. Just the fucking slap on the chest.
last time,
yes, Rufus, Jericho's personal security.
Hey, you know what? That guy. People can say what they want about Rufus or Ralphus, where you want to call it.
Or yeah, Ralphus. It was Ralphus, not Rufus. Ralphus.
I mean, it was excellent for Jericho.
Oh yeah.
He should bring. Hey, if that dude's still alive, he should bring him back to AEW.
I don't think he is.
I don't think
he passed away. He was in his late 50s, early 60s, driving the fucking tour buses and stuff for WW or WCW.
I have to ask you this, and I'll ask people in the comments section. What is your guilty pleasure theme song for wrestling history? Like one that you would just start dancing to and just beat.
My ringtone. HBK. And I will dance like Sean used to in the 90s. I will do the fucking strut. I used to get down and do the fucking pose. I used to do the whole thing, and I didn't care where the hell I was. When I used to have the job that I did, I had my headphones going. Sometimes I didn't even have the headphones in. I'd have just the music going on the phone, and I'd be doing the fucking dance, going up and down the aisleways. People be looking at me like, what the fuck is this guy doing? What the fuck is he smoking today?
I actually have two. One is the original Zack Ryder's Radio. I've actually rugged out to that. And I don't know why I like this song, but I like Disco Fever, Disco Inferno. Disco Fever. I'm actually waiting for that movie too, The Iron Claw. That really does look great.
I'm nervous about it though because I don't know. Like, there's a lot of wrestling fans that kind of know the story for the Von Erichs, and I guess even Michael Hayes has kind of seen some of the stuff with it, and he's not happy with it. Like, and just think about how well that rivalry had gone. Like, the Freebirds and the Von Erichs were like a staple in Texas. And if you've got Michael P.S. Hayes going, they got this wrong and this and this and this.
I gotta do it, man. After we were talking about the Gunther thing, I have to.
I guess Chavo was like he helped train, I guess, Zac Efron.
Yeah.
And they had a full ass match.
Here it goes.
Chavo and Zac had a full ass match for that fucking movie.
Here's how bad this is.
I knew Chavo was in the movie too.
That first one is insane. I had to play the first one. I'm sorry. That first one we were talking about, I'm like, man, that one was just insane.
What, the chop?
Yeah, the whole.
Hey, can you pull it up? Can you put it in here?
Yeah, I can put it in there. I mean,
fuck, put it in here. Let's fucking see it. I gotta hear it. I kind of want to hear it too, without pulling my phone out.
Okay.
Here we go.
Absolutely fearless is what's David Jr. Look at this.
Yeah. Just Jesus Christ. And the dude that sells it perfectly too. But there's people that would say they'll take 15 of those. Fuck no. Like, I know that's not what Prodigal Heel said, but Jesus Christ. I don't want to take one, let alone 15.
Man, that match between him, Sheamus, and Drew at WrestleMania 39 was a it looked like there was a brawl. It just looked like a fight.
Yeah.
And you see Sheamus is all beat up right here. Even Drew had welts right here.
Oh my God, yeah. You
And
know when the chops are good when they start to bring, like, literally bring blood to the skin, to the surface. You know what? I wouldn't mind seeing him, like, lose the freaking IC belt and have him win the Rumble. And have him win have Damian, have somebody cash in on Roman Reigns, even have Damian Priest cash in on Reigns, and have Gunther face off against Seth possibly, or LA Knight for the World Heavyweight title.
Well, Gunther needs to. I mean, let me ask you this: do you think these long title reigns are good or are they bad?
For the Intercontinental title or the US title, if they're being done, yes, because those are the workhorse style. Those have always been the workhorse titles. They're the mid-card title, the upper mid-card titles to help propel a guy up to the World Heavyweight or the WWE Championship. That's what the whole purpose of them was always for.
Now, for all you Roman Reigns fans, if you think Roman Reigns is going to catch Bruno Sammartino, he's not going to catch that record.
No.
But he is if he's still champion by WrestleMania 40, which he will go in WrestleMania 40 as champion, he will beat Hulk Hogan's.
But that's because Bruno's got, 4 years?
Yeah.
And I think that was his lowest one. I think there was another one that was like 15.
Yep, pretty much. Yep.
So
Hogan
nobody's ever gonna top Bruno's championship reign.
Hogan had it from January of '84 to February of '88.
Yep.
And then that was his.
And that's because he was the main moneymaker, and that's because they also didn't have a monthly pay-per-view.
No.
But what they're doing with guys like Roman Reigns and even Brock Lesnar is they're using them part-time, which is good. That's what they need to do. And you're right, Prodigal, they didn't. Some of them did. They still did do house shows. They just didn't have TV like Monday Night Raw. But you still listen to guys like Flair and Cornette talk. They still wrestled 4, 5, 6 times a week. It's so they still had house shows and other bookings that they had to go do. Even in that day.
When I met Jim Cornette at a convention back in 2014, he told me that Jerry Lawler still has a lock of Shawn Michaels' hair in that little fight between him and Bret Hart in the locker room.
When they were doing that whole like looking for like the art, like the treasures or whatever, when they went to Jerry Lawler's house on WWE, either on Peacock or WWE Network, they talked about it then, and he had the bag. They showed the bag of Shawn's hair. Because Dark Side of the Ring actually undersold how big that ball of hair actually was that Bret Hart ripped out.
I mean, Jim Cornette pretty much said, "Is it a And, when I told him, like, was this a fist fight or a girl fight? He said, he's like, well, let's just say this much. Jerry Lawler was taking his shit, and I don't know if he used toilet paper. Oh, dang.
That sounds like a Cornette.
And Cornette was talking about a story about how he pulled a gun on Brock.
I have heard that one too.
Yeah.
Yep, I've heard that story. I've heard that he got after Santino.
Well, yeah.
And he was really high. Jim was really high on Boogeyman, but Boogeyman, the only thing that was the problem with Boogeyman is that the guy fucking lied about all of his shit. He lied about his age and stuff. But the guy actually came in with the desire to actually work. And that was when he went after Bruno, or not Bruno, went after Santino.
I will say this though, the Prodigal Hill has had a run in with Jim Cornette. Jim Cornette's not a fan of the Prodigal Hill. Yeah,
Did you make a reference to going back and playing Hide the Submarine in the hot tub?
Now, it's funny when wrestlers on Twitter will actually block you for making some kind of reference to them. Like Jericho is one of the main people that will block you. If you make
I am currently unblocked by Chris Jericho, but that's just because I have a new Twitter account. Because I used to be blocked by Twitter and Ryback. Now I'm blocked by neither one of them because I made a new Twitter account. The X.
Now Ryback, he's had some comments on his TikTok videos.
I am blocked on TikTok though.
He blocked you on TikTok?
Yeah, he blocked me on TikTok.
So he can't there. So he can't just take the Ryback. You can't take the criticism.
No, he can't. And it's heartbreaking because he thinks everybody's trolling him when they give their opinion. Like, if you don't want the opinion of the fans, don't make a poll. Plain and fucking simple. Here, I got a poll. Does Ryback suck in the ring? Hit Y for yes. Hit N for no. If you think he sucks in the ring, go to his Twitter and tell him he sucks. If you don't think he sucks, go to his Twitter. Tell him he's the best in the ring. Or
what you could do is you go and like get one of his workout things and then basically flush it down the toilet. But then again, though, never mind it because you'd be giving him money, so don't do that.
Yeah, my opinion of Ryback was in the toilet earlier.
So you did a Ryback?
Yep.
Yep. Or
no, I did a Russo. I had a Russo. That's what it was.
Yo, bro. This is like great, bro.
Sounds like some other fucking people we know.
I would love to see Jim. I know it would never happen. But if I could referee a Jim Cornette versus Vince Russo match, just to be like, you know what? I just want to see what happens.
Books about as well as Vince Russo could too. But
yeah, he definitely was a Vince Russo ripoff. Yo, bro. Yeah. We're gonna be here, bro. You can't call yourself a Jedi and come out to
the Sith music.
Can't do that. I mean, you have watched Star Wars. There's a bunch of Star Wars movies that they tell you why that a Jedi does not come out to the Imperial March.
At the very least, be a great Jedi then.
Yeah. The greatest Jedi ever lived.
No. Not greatest. Gray. Just the gray.
The gray, yeah. The gray.
The morally in the middle ground. Not too far onto the fucking zealotry side and not too far onto the, hey, we're going to fucking order 66 the kids. Master Skywalker. Sorry. Whoops.
I mean, honestly, you can super kick Cornette in the face.
If that's what you're going to do to Cornette, what are you going to do to Russo?
Let me handle Russo. I'll give him some.
I mean, at least Cornette has a passion for the business and knows it. Russo he doesn't know his ass from a hole in the ground and still thinks that he's God's gift to wrestling.
And he did a video recently saying that Triple H should listen to him.
Jesus Christ. He says that to everybody. He said that about fucking Tony Khan though too.
I mean, you got to listen to me, bro. I mean, okay, bro, you got to listen to me, bro. If you really want to book a solid main event, just put Kate Jones, right?
I would trust Triple H and Shawn Michaels' judgment to book a fucking wrestling show before I would ever even attempt to take the advice of Vince Russo.
Vince Russo is a guy that just
I wouldn't let Vince Russo run a movie store anymore.
I wouldn't even let Vince Russo cut my grass. I mean, that's just how bad it is. But I wouldn't even.
Jim, as much as you may hate it, though, Prodigal, Jim has forgotten more about the business than a lot of us will ever know. It's infinitely more than what Vince Russo will ever know. But there is plenty of stuff that goes back to the freaking like 1920s, 1930s that Jim Cornette has information, useless information about. And so, I mean, the man's knowledgeable of his fucking business, of the business. He's another one that he was not an in-ring competitor, but he was a student of the game, like Triple H or Shawn or Flair. Love him or hate him, the man knows his shit and he knows his way around the business.
Man,
I need a fucking haircut. Jesus Christ.
Mine just finally started to grow.
I will agree he's not the greatest booker, even though Dave Meltzer thought he was for a few years back in the day. But when he had, and that was of course when he had talent like young Randy Orton. Hey, I got kicked off the show.
No, I'll stick to that, right.
Oh man, I got kicked off the show. God damn it. I guess I'm gonna go get ice cream. But yeah, I mean, when he had Brock, he had John. Apparently, I'm not allowed to get a haircut either.
Hey, there you go. Hey, I have to ask your girl this question. Would you allow your girlfriend to chop you in the chest?
Would I let her chop me? Yeah. I mean, you'll hear it here. Damn, Percy Pringle. Rest in peace, Paul Bearer. And Dutch. Even though Dutch isn't dead yet. Anyhow, like I was starting to say, this is where people are going to hear it first because it's not going to be something that's like posted all over YouTube. It's just going to be strictly to my brother across the pond if he ever actually sees this. There's a request from our buddy Michael Carr that I tombstone my girl. Like I did that video for Kayla back, or what was it, 2 years ago, a year ago, that he had asked about, and we had that whole spiel about. He wants me to do that to my girl, but he wants her to give me the stunner and then the ankle lock. So one of my two finishers, she's got to put me in, and she gets to give me a Stone Cold Stunner because he wants to see how I'm going to sell a stunner. And I said, I'm down. Sure.
You know what? She's done stunner and do the.
She's not a beer girl, but maybe if I give her a couple of Arnold Palmer Arizonas, she'll do it. Dutch was a good. I've never seen anything that Percy though booked personally, or that I know about. I'm trying to think of who Gary Hart was. Because I don't, if he's related to Brett, the only person that I can ever remember booking for Stampede is Stu.
I've actually been I've been RKO'd by Mel.
Nice.
So,
and then Heyman, it's not softball season yet, though, Orchid. Okay.
yeah,
I'll have to look up some old WCCW then and see. Check out some of the shows that guy booked.
You know what's interesting is that simple moves back then used to get the 1, 2, 3, like Jake Roberts DDT, Ravens DDT. Now you see a DDT. Now it's kick out, kick out, kick out.
It's the same with the super kick. The only person who hell, the leg drop. As much as I can't stand Hogan, everybody and their brother does everybody and their brother. No pun intended, brother. Everybody does a fucking leg drop of some variation. The only difference is, are you on the ground or are you doing it off the top rope or off the top turnbuckle?
Taker kind of did it like Hogan did, almost a little different.
He did. He would do it almost exactly like Hogan, and then he also had that like guillotine leg drop on the ring apron. So,
which is one of the hardest.
The only person that would ever put down for a 1, 2, 3 was Hogan.
You know, elbow drops by Macho Man. You do it somewhat. Well, Shawn did that as a signature, but he didn't do it as a finisher. Mm-hmm. But you see these moves now, like that's my problem with AEW and people.
Super kick, Canadian Destroyer, DDTs.
Well, here's the thing though. They do all that and they kick out, but yet you can hit someone with a knee. And
don't get me like if they had consistency on that, I wouldn't have a problem. Like, because I mean, obviously, we've even seen Shawn and Taker where they did the Tombstone and the Sweet Chin Music and the Choke Slam and Last Ride and everything, but there was a stipulation, there was a story behind it. It kept us invested in both of those matches, 25 and 26. So there were stakes. It wasn't just another Dynamite or another Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown, Thursday Night SmackDown, whatever. Shotgun Saturday night. Huh.
I mean, if you think about it, though,
I didn't know that.
The one thing about the old wrestling that I liked is that the Von Erichs were very good with the claw on the head. Yep. You don't see the claw on the head except when Great Khali did the whole vice grip.
I know in the Attitude Era, Kurgan did it once in a while, but that's because Kurgan was also
right.
He was one of the guys that was the size of the Undertaker, so he had that giant ass mitt of a hand that could do it, just like the Von Erichs did.
Could you imagine if Andre would have used that as a finisher back then?
Everybody would look like Rey Mysterio. I mean, for Christ's sake, a 12-ounce can looked like those 8-ounce cans of Pepsi or Mountain Dew or whatever that we can buy now. And we're holding that, and that's the closest that we're going to feel to being Andre holding a fucking 12-ounce beer can.
Well, I remember that Saturday night's main event. He came in there and he was choking Hogan. He had the whole entire hand around Hogan's throat, like both hands. And it was just like, my gosh.
And the dude could pull it off.
We've had the mandible claw, but that's.
And we've had that from a couple different bodies. We've had that from The Fiend. We've had it from Mick.
Yeah.
Christ. What was it? Sam Shepard?
Yep.
So
Now, who do you think had the better ankle lock, Ken Shamrock or Kurt Angle?
I don't know. I like both of them.
See that move he just said right there, the Roman Reigns Superman punch followed into the claw. When I was going to do stuff with MCW, that's what Castle Hill wanted me to do. Come in there and just do this punch, and then they spin around and.
I mean, I do like, because I like that Shamrock brought the actual like UFC style, like a UFC fighting style to wrestling. And for the longest time, a lot of people, I don't even think actually realized this, his original finishing move wasn't even the actual ankle lock. He used to just use a simple like belly to belly suplex, belly to belly slam, and then he would get the 1, 2, 3.
One thing I liked about him was when he did the ankle lock, he would scream and go. Rah!
Yeah, he'd have that snap, and he's staring off into the like that Vietnam 1,000-yard stare, just eyes bugging out.
I gotta say though, one of the coolest moments in professional wrestling, because Dixie Carter was backstage on Raw in Nashville. But one of the coolest moments for her is when she went through that table finally by Bully Ray.
They fed that story up for a while too.
She took it like a champ, though.
Yeah. I'm gonna say that the best table best table spot for a female still was May.
Just how
80-year-old Mae Young.
And just how Bubba Ray's is staring at the abyss.
I love how he like. She was. Yeah, there was no fear in that old bird in the 90s. Holy crap. You listen to Bubba talk about what Mae Young said she would do.
Mae Young would have beaten Kate and Kayla both. Yeah, I said it. I had to say it. Because Mae Young and Fabulous Moolah, there is no way of beating those two old broads.
We can do without Moolah.
Well, Mae was the toughest one.
But that's only because you hear the stories about how Moolah used to be, and it's just like, man, damn, like she was that shitty of a human being?
Yeah, she was pretty shitty. Yeah.
I mean, at the same time, it was a whole nother monster back then, too.
That's, actually, if you go back and look at some of the, you have Peacock, right? PK?
Yeah.
They have some WCCW stuff on there.
Yeah, I'm going to look some of that stuff up, because I'm curious who from the Attitude Era came from WCCW, because now, and I don't want Prodigal to tell me. I want to kind of go and learn and figure this out.
I think what he's talking about, the wrestlers back then, their personalities, he feels like the Attitude Era bounced off of those.
Well, I mean, yeah, even if he's not talking about the actual people, like he's talking about like gimmicks and the ideas for gimmicks, it's still.
I still like the fact that I watched that old. I don't know if you've probably seen this. I finally watched that whole Wrestling with Shadows with Bret Hart all the way through. Finally,
I've never watched it at all. Bret Hart fan, Owen Hart fan, Hart family fan. Wish I could have trained in the dungeon, but obviously, I think he was done doing that way before.
Speaking of the dungeon, in this spot, he goes and visits his dad, and his dad has these 3 young guys in there, and this bald-headed guy was like, pretty much kind of talking shit to Stu, and all you can hear is that guy screaming and crying when Stu Hart's got him like right here in his arm bar. He's like, "Look right here, I can rip your arm off right here. I could do this right here," and I'm like, don't mess with that old man.
No.
I mean, the hard thing was actually pretty cool. But you actually do see Vince McMahon walk out of the locker room dazed, like he got knocked the fuck out.
Oh yeah, he got knocked the hell out after Montreal. So I mean, I'll at least give Vince credit on that one, as he took the punch like a man. He went in there, he knew what he was going to be walking into, and he took the hit.
No, I like how Brett told him, "Look, I'm going to take a shower. You're still here.
I'm going to knock you the fuck out."
Mm-hmm. And he could have left. He could have had his security come and escort Brett out. No, he was like, "All right, I fucked you over. I got to do what I got to do."
And there were a lot of people that had told Vince that you're going to have to take one. You're going to have to take a hit. You're going to have to take a punch. You're going to.
Taker was one of them.
Taker was the main one that said you're going to have to suck up and take it.
Now there's a skit in there. There's a part in this Wrestling with Shadows where Brett's first wife is out there and she sees Triple H standing there, and then she's like, "You and Sean had this. You knew everything." He's like, "I'm sorry, I didn't." She's like, "Oh bullshit! Come on, you both knew." And it was like,
Sean for sure knew. Sean knew what was gonna happen because he had to. And he's even admitted. He even came out and admitted later he knew what was gonna happen, and it sucked being one of the guys that knew. But at the same time, I get why Vince did what Vince did.
Shawn Michaels will never get a greeting card from the people of Montreal. Neither will Vince.
Nope.
Now
hell, that'll be the only place Sean can be the biggest baby face on the planet. You go to Montreal, it'll be the only place that he'll get booed out the building. Not even anywhere else in Canada, just Montreal, because of what happened. Plain and simple.
Yep. So besides the whole Brothers of Destruction versus DX that they did in that one, we don't talk about. But if Sean was to be offered the money to come back, if you were Sean, and I know if I was Sean, if I had a chance to come back with that type of money being offered, I would want to face a guy like AJ. Just because I mean, like if I was Sean's capability, I would be like, all right, let's see what this
off
guy
against AJ Styles
or Seth. Yeah, I would have been like, let's do it. I think he was just didn't want to. I think what he was worried about with AJ was that he wouldn't be able to put on that performance that he could.
Well, even if you wanted Seth or AJ, Sean would still have to put on a performance he's probably not able to do anymore.
Here's a question that one a coworker asked me the other day was, do we think The Rock will wrestle at WrestleMania 40?
I don't think so. Because the Writers Guild strike ended.
Right.
If the Writers strike was still going on, then yeah, I could have seen him coming to WrestleMania.
He claims that they were close for WrestleMania 39, but
I don't buy that one fucking bit.
Mm-mm.
Not one bit.
I didn't buy it when I heard it. Now, I know this is a wrestling talk thing, but I have to get this out here because I know that you're a Green Bay fan, and we all know Aaron Rodgers played there for a while. What do you think about Aaron Rodgers already coming back from this?
I don't think he had a torn Achilles.
You don't think so?
If he's able to come back now already, when you hear about other people having a torn Achilles and everything, and they're out for a year or 11 months, they're on the shelf and going through that. But Aaron Rodgers is magically healed up. halfway through, a little more than halfway through the fucking season. Huh? Are you sure you had a full fucking tore Achilles tendon then, fucker?
Maybe a partial tear.
Mm-hmm.
I would say maybe a partial tear, but I don't think it was a full-fledged.
Yeah, it's.
I know he went on the Pat McAfee show, said he was taking some kind of some kind of new thing to rehab from it. But I'm like, come on. I mean, my father-in-law, who's 76, 77 years old, has a torn Achilles tendon and is having to walk with a brace on his ankle.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
yeah, he's not out. Your father-in-law is not out there.
No,
you're welcome.
And you know, that's the. I would even suggest that I don't even think Aaron Rodgers was hurt.
I will probably. I'll say I'll go out with he was still hurt. Because I don't think he was going to have any kind of vindictive nature to where he's going to want to sit out for half a season to potentially screw Green Bay out of a first-round pick from New York. I don't think people would be that petty.
But the good thing is that if he does play before the season ends, you guys do get that pick.
He had to play a certain amount.
Oh.
I think he had to play at least 65 or 60 to 70% of the snaps or the season. He's not going to get 60% of the season if he went out 4 plays into game 1. And we're now on week 11, week 12?
So I have to bring this up. We know that Sting is finally calling it quits in February.
Oh, it's in February is when that show is?
I think February or January, 1 of the 2 is.
I know it was supposed to be what was it, Double or Nothing or All In?
Yeah.
Whatever their AEW's big WrestleMania one is. Because ironically enough, last week, a week ago yesterday actually, so 8 days ago, somebody wanted me originally to go to, I think, Allstate to go see AEW. And that didn't end up going through because financial situations. Obviously, I'm out of a job, and that individual has a little one on the way that I think is going to be here in May. So I know they're not watching this one, but if they decide to, because I know that they're still friends, Rob and Britt, again, congratulations. And yes, I am airing out your guys' a little bit of your not so dirty laundry, but my ex-wife is having a baby in May. Maybe it'll be around my birthday, and I'll have to share my birthday with another thing instead of, my daughter's biological dad's wedding anniversary.
That's when you just peep your head out and go like, I'm the pappy.
But
no, I mean,
because that guy's my ex-wife's boyfriend is a real big Sting fan, and that's somebody that he's always wanted to see wrestle in person, and he didn't get to. I got to see Sting when I went to Forbidden Door, when they did the first Forbidden Door at the United Center. And the only reason I was on the fence about potentially even going to the All-State show for AEW, I think that was where it was going to be, I can't remember at this point, is because when I went to Forbidden Door, I got there and it started at like 6 o'clock, and I didn't leave the United Center in Chicago until almost 1 o'clock in the fucking morning. Like, I basically sat through WrestleMania in one night, and it's just like, oh my God. In AEW, on their pay-per-views, and live, they don't do promos and until after, yeah, I got into it with Mox because I was trolling Mox from the fucking third fucking level, saying, "Can you shut up and we can get the fuck out of here? We want to leave. Shut up! Your match was over 20 minutes ago. Get out of the fucking ring."
I'm
gonna kick your ass. All right, be my guest. I'm not just as you're walking up here, make sure you don't start bleeding uncontrollably and that fucking stroll up to here.
So Big Rim is a big Sting fan, and he told me that he lives in North Carolina, and it's going to be in North Carolina. It's going to be 3 hours from him. And I told him, I said, dude, if this is your favorite wrestler and this is his last match, take that opportunity.
Yeah, you gotta.
You gotta take that opportunity. And I wish I would have. Well, we had the pandemic, so obviously I couldn't see Taker's, but I would have loved to see Taker have his last one. It's one of those things.
I'm sorry for cutting you off. Prodigal, I gotta ask how old you are, boss, because I'm in my late 30s. So I've been watching wrestling for over 30 years. So I've been watching since the early 90s myself.
Well, I hate to break it to the Prodigal. I've been watching wrestling ever since the early 80s, and I've been keeping up with not 70s as well.
And there's plenty of stuff that I go back and watch. Like I like watching stuff from the 70s and the 80s. Like I said, like when we were talking at the very beginning, I like when the high spots were the freaking Macho Man elbow drop, or like a double axe handle off the top rope, or like how Macho Man used to do the double axe handle outside of the ring from the top rope.
And those tag team finishers were just simple, like Demolition. Yeah. They just put like a little backbreaker into an elbow off the second rope.
Yeah, the only one that was really the Doomsday Device, because that was one that had been around since like the 70s. That was probably one of the more intricate ones because it's the fucking Road Warriors. It's the Legion of Doom.
And then you had the Heart Attack, which was basically Jim the Evil Neidhart picking you up, and Brett's coming over.
It was like a clothesline spine buster.
Right. Yeah. So, and the Steiners had that Bulldog.
Yep. They had the top rope assisted Bulldog. Back when Scotty could actually just jump and hit somebody with a Frankensteiner and spike their head.
I wish there was a way that I could find a way to contact Scott Steiner and bring him on my show, because I want him to answer the math question.
Oh, geez, no. I'll sit down and watch if you do, but I'm just going to sit here and I'm just going to do this the whole fucking time.
But then again, I wouldn't want to piss him off either. So that's a crazy lunatic.
Oh, piss him off. Then he's going to tell you what percentage you have of winning in a fight with him. And then it's going to be another one of those where we're just going, oh, Jesus fucking Christ.
I think that's the one promo Scott Steiner probably regrets doing, is the mathematic. And if any of y'all never saw it in TNA, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If y'all have seen it.
I don't even think you would need to have watched TNA to know what people are talking about when you say Steiner math, unfortunately. That is fucking awesome, Prodigal. Once upon a time where PK here lives, there used to be a wrestler that used to get billed from here. And he was actually a big name guy. Once upon a time. People don't know this, but in the early 90s, Lex Luger was billed from Rockford, Illinois. Like, that's one that, like, not a whole lot of people know about. And then I'm sitting there and I'm learning about this as a little kid. And then I move up here and I'm like, he's from this fucking place?
Lexi.
Like, he's... Like, I'm looking around the fucking area, and I'm like, this is where Lex Luger was built from? What, was the fucking Walmart parking lot in Toledo, Ohio fucking closed for the day?
His favorite Steiner promo. I mean...
Yeah.
Half the time, I didn't understand a word Scott Steiner said.
I don't think a lot of us understood what Scott Steiner was saying half the time.
But when you hear Braun Breaker, when you hear Rick Steiner's son, he sounds a lot like Scott. on the mic, and it's not as bad. You can actually understand what Braun's saying,
Yeah.
but his was. I like the fact that he kept the whole singlet, like he kept that singlet outfit like his dad, and actually. Well, actually, what's interesting is Braun Breaker's.
That's fucking cool. Steve Williams was a fucking beast too.
Yes. Dr. Death Steve Williams was definitely one of my favorite matches that I got to go to as a kid from my dad. My dad took me to a NWA 1988 match between Terry Funk and Ric Flair, and it was a hardcore Falls Count Anywhere. And I saw Terry Funk power drive Ric Flair like 2 or 3 times on the concrete.
Oof.
I'm just like, man. But that's what was cool about wrestling back then, because back then you could be sitting in the crowd saying something, they will interact with you, and they'll tell you to shut up. And, that's why I like MJF so much. He lives with the gimmick. He keeps it.
And that's something that I really like, is that MJF, he doesn't break character. He gets his family in on it.
Maxwell. Jacob. But speaking of MJF, it's pretty much being reported that he re-signed with AEW. It hasn't officially came out with it, but all that talk about him wanting to go to WWE, I knew that was.
I don't think he was ever going to go to WWE because I don't think they would let him be the character. I don't think they would let him be MJF.
No. Well, is there anything else you guys want to add before we head off here? Because I'd have to get myself some grubby.
Yeah, I need to sit down and eat some. I had a early dinner tonight, and I'm starting to get a little hungry again. And I need to get a new bottle of water. Mine's almost empty.
Okay.
Yeah, mine's just Aldi brand.
Ain't nothing wrong with a grocery store brand water. Okay, it's nothing wrong with it.
It's water. Normally, I'm not afraid. Even with the area that I live in, I'm still not afraid to drink the water out of the tap.
I'm not afraid to drink it around here either. It just tastes like a lot of chlorine a lot. But.
I used to smoke. I used to drink nothing but whiskey and tequila. I'm not dead yet, so.
But we'll definitely check out the Von Erich movie when it comes out. I would definitely like to see it and see.
Yeah, we will, or I will.
Would love to see that. And now, if there's wrestlers that are going to do eventually, I think eventually they'll start doing biographies. Hopefully, they'll start doing biographies of biopics that they call them for some of these wrestlers out there.
I could get behind some of that. Because they've got one that's supposed to be coming out still for Hulk Hogan, eventually too.
Yep.
Because Chris Hemsworth is going to play Hogan.
Now, if Chris Hemsworth's going to play Hogan, it can't be complete unless he goes, that doesn't work for me.
And you got to do that. You got to do that when you talk about Bash at the Beach '98 or '99, or no, sorry, 2000. Bash at the Beach 2000. 2000.
Doesn't work for me, brother.
Doesn't work.
But anyways, thank you for coming on here. Thanking everybody from the comments. If you watch the video later, if you watch the video later, let us know in the comments what you guys think about Punk being back. Do you think this is a good idea for WWE? Do you think this is Punk going to show his true colors eventually and go ape shit? And let us know
if you think AJ Lee's going to be back, or if it's going to be a one-off at even at WrestleMania or Royal Rumble.
Also, let us also know if you think that you would rather take 15 suplexes or 15 chops from Gunther.
Don't forget about the other question. headfirst tombstone through the top of the Hell in a Cell or getting thrown off through the announce table with the thumbtacks? We'll have to make a hell of a lot of polls for this one.
I'll probably put the polls on my on my channel actually. Hey, what's about this poll?
There we go. I don't know how to do any of that shit, and I don't really have a channel, so. But I'm gonna go and I'm gonna go shave my head. So just see what kind of chaos this issue is tomorrow when I have a weekend.
And by the way, this is the first time, and we're actually going to, next year is the first year we're actually going to have only one Marvel movie coming out. And that's Deadpool 3. Your girl's already.
Yeah, he needs a buzz.
Yeah, she's already going like this.
she's doing the John Cena, you can't see me shit.
You can't see me.
Well, yeah, but that's because he got it from the whole fucking his little brother. That thing. He won't do this on fucking TV, so he started doing that. There's that one on fucking Graham Norton.
Yep.
So that's all over YouTube, TikTok, everything. I don't need to talk about that story. John will tell that himself.
Yeah, I mean, I hadn't, the Prodigal Hill does a pretty good impersonation of John Cena.
What, did he disappear already? I can't see Prodigal. Where'd he go?
He goes, "You better not." Well, technically, Cena's been selling to everybody else, but we get the picture. Anyways, though, thanks everybody for coming in. Thanks you, PK, for
thanks for having me, Kev.
No problem. We're going to do some of this more, and then plus, Mel was a recluse over here. That's okay.
She's always a recluse when I'm going to be on the show.
Cut it.
Every time I'm supposed to be on the show, Mel's like, "Oh, that fucker. Okay, I'm going to play GTA." Or Grand Theft Horse, also known as Red Dead Redemption.
You know it.
See?
See, that's what I'm saying.
Have a good night, guys.
All
You
right.
too.